Yo, what's going on, Latin Wealth family? Welcome to another episode to Wealth Wednesday on the Latin Wealth podcast. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. We got a really big developing story that we're going to get into today. And to my surprise, not a lot of people are really talking about it, right? And that is the story of the relationship between Venezuela and the United States. Before we get too deep into it, if you are new to this podcast, go ahead and check out some of our previous videos that we've been putting out. We just put out a video last week about the relationship between Argentina and the United States. So that was a great episode, very informative. But we're going to take the same route in this conversation, kind of break down segment by segment what's going on, and stay tuned until the end of the episode because we're just going to keep digging deeper and deeper into this relationship. But with that being said, if you guys did not know, um, my bad, my apologies. That was rude of me, man. Jeremiah, how you
Oh,
feeling today?
I'm good, man. Let's we rolling into it because the people cannot wait to hear about this information. I was
I
ready to.
know, but I
No,
always got
we
to make sure
good.
you
I'm
straight.
good. No, we good. Let's, man. I'm excited.
Let's
We're
get it.
good.
My co-host, let's get it. So look, the United States military has been carrying out multiple strikes on suspected drug smuggling vessels in the Caribbean. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about, I want to play a quick video of what's been going on recently, right? So there's just been some. Go ahead and share my screen. Share the sound, of course. Boom. And we'll watch this quick video, probably about 30 seconds or so.
The Trump administration is reportedly getting ready to attack military installations inside Venezuela. That's according to the Wall Street Journal. It comes after a U.S. airstrike took out another alleged drug boat in the Eastern Pacific, killing 4 people on board. Now, the Pentagon says the boat was carrying narcotics, but Democrats are not satisfied with the intelligence and are demanding more transparency right now. House lawmakers received a classified briefing yesterday, which Democrats say provided little to no answers and did not ease their concerns that the president is abusing his war powers.
I heard no strategy, no end game, no assessment of how they are going to end the flow of drugs into the United States.
On the Senate side, Democrats are furious.
Yeah, so that's what's been going on recently, right? And in fact, that over 15 U.S. strikes on alleged drug cartels has been happening in the recent months. Dozen people have been killed. As you just seen, the Pentagon says that they're targeting narco-terrorists tied to Venezuela. And currently, well, about 4 hours ago, I don't know if there was more people deployed, but there's 10 naval vessels and 10,000 troops already deployed in the Caribbean, the largest military buildup there since 1962 for the Cuban Missile Crisis. Now, with all this being said, we're going to get Jeremiah in here. Again, we're going to take it segment by segment. Um, Initially you look at this and you would think this is a war on drugs, but other people may say, yo, this is something that's probably a lot deeper than just drugs. Is this something to put pressure on President Maduro, who is the president of Venezuela? We're going to be diving into all of that today. And last thing I'll say before I switch it over to Jeremiah is in a recent interview, Trump said that I doubt we'll go to war with Venezuela, but Maduro's days are numbered. So even though he's saying this really isn't a war situation, I mean, look, they got 10,000 troops in the Caribbean deployed, ready to go. Jeremiah, when you seen this and just kind of been reading about it recently, what were your thoughts about this story?
It takes me back to Iraq, in the early 2000s. Something very similar. Um, I don't know if anybody remembers. It depends on how old you are, but do you remember Bush when with Colin Powell, and this was one of Colin the biggest mark, right, or deterring mark on Colin Powell's long, prestigious military career, and that was the weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
This is very similar to what I see now. Very similar. We don't know that these boats are. We don't know what they, if it's drugs. No one knows. The intelligence is small. This is what I see, and I think this is just being serious. When I look at it, and I look at it like very thoroughly, I see Iraq in the early 2000s.
Mm.
I see a country that's using a guise, right? Something that we're telling our constituents, telling the American citizens, but that's not really what's going on. And as
100%.
we go deeper, I think we'll get into the deeper, but just initially, it just reminds me of like Iraq in the early 2000s. Let's tell people something. It gets them emotional, gets them stirred up. We all know Trump is very good with
Very
puppet
good.
mastering. And so, you play on the emotions of people and wanting to be nationalistic, right, and patriotic. And then, they're bringing drugs into the country and stuff like that. So, it sounds good, but there's deeper things to it.
100%. And I'm glad that you brought that up because, I mean, better way to kind of, for lack of a better word, mask something, right? By saying, yo, we're preventing fentanyl from
Right.
coming into the United States. We're
Right.
protecting our citizen. These people are terrorists, and we're doing everything we can to stop them, right? So, great point.
I mean, and it even if you said that's what you were doing, if you look at the actual percentage of fentanyl that actually touches Venezuela or is coming through that pathway, right? It's a very small percentage. The majority of fentanyl is coming through Mexico. We know that. We know
Bro.
that that is the hub, right? And that's where things are coming in. And then people would say, hey, well, that's why you need more border control and all those type of things, and we know that's what something that people were running on. But look at that, 96 to 98% of the fentanyl that's actually illegally trafficked it comes through the Mexican border, and
Mm,
it's not coming from Venezuela. So then if you look at that, if 2%,
hmm
if the remaining 2% was coming in from Venezuela, which it doesn't, because you can see the numbers there, you see Mexico, China, and then border cross,
Canada,
right?
Canada as
So what
well.
is it, 0.5% that comes from Venezuela? So what is the real reason why we're blowing up boats and trying to initiate or gaslight a war with Venezuela? What would
Mm.
be the real reason for that?
Let's get into it. So it's funny because as you were bringing up the percentage, I was looking it up as you were talking. Great minds think alike. Um, before we get, we're gonna take this step by step. Follow along with us. Comment down below what you guys think is the reason for the United States is executing some of these attacks. Right? Look, the USA, where we at right here? I'll make sure I get my notes right. Okay, so the USA stopped recognizing Maduro as a Venezuelan legitimate president back in 2019. So back in 2019, they were like, "Yo, we don't see you as a legitimate president, and we are with the oppositions that are claiming that you rigged the election. All right, you are not the president. We're not running with this, right?" Is what they were saying back in 2019. 2018, an alleged drone assassination attempt was made on Maduro. Obviously, that didn't go through. And then up, look, this is even crazier. The past couple years, the relationship between the United States and Venezuela has been tangled by over 150 U.S. sanctions placed on Venezuela. August 7th, 2025, the United States government announced a $50 million reward for information leading to the arrest and or conviction of Venezuela President Maduro.
So I want people to think about something. First and foremost, there was a big claim by the United States stating that he is illegitimate and he's not the correct president because he won through a fraudulent election. Kind of very similar to Trump. Oh, my bad. So
What do they say? Real recognize real.
real recognize real, game recognize game, right? So yeah, I mean, you would know about a false win. I think Elon has stated it, and you can go look this up. Elon said, "I won you the presidency." Elon obviously
Mm,
spoke on his manipulation of the actual polling system. He spoke on it very openly. But hey, okay. And then if we look at it, there was a drone attempt on Maduro's life. We have to also think about what America is known for and what we're over the top. What do? We go in and we alter and we destabilize people's governments. That's what we do. This is very similar. What we're trying to do right now is what we did to Batista and Fidel Castro
mm,
in Cuba back in those days, right? Che Guevara and Fidel Castro, right? They took over. They had the revolution in like 1959 in Cuba. That was sponsored by the United States because we wanted to get rid of Batista, right? This is very similar to what we do. We did the same thing in Afghanistan. We did the same thing in Iraq. We go and we fund the rebellion, and then the rebellion uses our own funds and our own guns against us later on,
Mm.
because we want to take over things. And so this is what I think is happening in Venezuela right now. We're seeking to kill Maduro because he is very persistent, in fighting against the United States, and the relationship between Maduro and Putin and I would even say China's probably
China.
having conversations with him as well. He's creating relationships with the BRICS nations,
Hmm.
as he should, because he should look for alliances that are going to strengthen and help him. So what are we looking at? This is the same situation. Russia supported Cuba back in the 50s. It's another Cold War,
Hmm.
right? And what happens is as these tensions rise, we're seeking to take out Maduro in Venezuela. And the reason we're looking for that is for positioning, but also for oil.
Ooh.
If you look back into the actual history of Venezuela, if you look at the amount of oil that's in Venezuela, they actually hold more oil in Venezuela than Saudi Arabia. There it is right there. Countries with the largest oil reserves. Venezuela has a larger oil reserve than Saudi Arabia.
And so that was going to be my transition. Thank you for doing that for me. I was going to ask the audience, like, yo, when you think of a country that has the most oil reserve in the world, give me a couple countries that you think, right? And I'm pretty sure Venezuela would not come to mind.
It would.
100% sure. You would think Saudi Arabia, you would think
Mhm.
Iran, you probably even think the
Canada.
UAE, Canada, somewhere in the Middle East, right?
Mhm.
And you can see Venezuela has over 30 or 300 billion barrels of oil, right? Which is insane.
So you tell me how a country that has over 300 billion barrels of oil in reserve, explain to me how that country's broke.
Mm.
Explain to me how if a barrel of oil is worth $60 a barrel, how is that country broke? See, these are the things that people don't, and we always talk about doing that extra, right? Your due diligence and actually looking at something. Don't believe what people tell you, but by these numbers, right? How is Venezuela broke? Well, they're broke because of the communism and their economy. And then how do you think those communists got into power? They were duly elected, right? Duly elected democratic presidents that were in Venezuela before Chavez, right? Chavez was the president before Maduro. But so how did these people get into power is because the people that were duly elected in Venezuela, when it was a rich country and doing extremely well, they didn't mess with the United States. They didn't like the United States meddling in their business.
Mm.
So the same play that we always run. Come in, right? Destabilize the government, put in somebody that we like. That person turns on us, we try to kill them. This is the same thing we did with the Castro, same thing with Cuba. Then what do? We do an embargo, a trade embargo against Cuba, and that's why Cuba has 50 style cars, right? Because they can't
Hmm.
get any imports, right? It's the
And
same
yeah,
thing.
I was reading an article today, and that's a great point you brought up. With the troops in the Caribbean, they're basically trying to block off oil that's being sent from Venezuela to Cuba to to block off that as well.
And this is all just things that we just we just do, right? I mean, I've had this conversation before, and we have to eventually start to look at and see, are we the good guys? Are we still the good guys, or is it just a matter of perspective? Because based upon that, it just looks like we're bullying people. And
And you
Mexico's not
and you
even
know
in
it's
this conversation.
you know it's
So it's
crazy.
like
Some people will say, actually, I'm not even some people. Somebody made a comment on our last video where it's like they don't see what you're saying right now, right? They're saying somebody had said like, "Yo, pull out the world's smallest violin." You guys just seem like you're just complaining, but you're not seeing both sides. You're not seeing. You mentioned one word last week that I think speaks volumes to what the United States is trying to do. I think you said, um, I think presence or influence. Influence was the word.
influence. Yeah.
This is all about influence, right? Regaining influence in different countries and throughout the
And
world.
and here's the thing, it's not even influence to right to increase the overall wealth as a country. It's not even for the embetterment of America. You're not even bullying people for the embetterment of America. At this current time, it's for a select group of people
Yeah.
that have invested and put money in different spaces, right? They're just trying to enrich those people. It's not even for the betterment of the United States. Do you think cutting off trade with Mexico, cutting off trade with Canada when they supply 40% of the power to the Northeast, do you think that's a smart decision? No, these aren't smart decisions. They don't profit America, right? And so I hear what people are saying, like get out the violins and all that, but I mean, are you really critically thinking? Like, are we just looking at logic and looking at the actual facts of what's going on, or do we just are you following narratives? And that's okay. If you do follow narratives, here what we've always tried to do is be totally objective and not subjective, right? So if Biden was still in office, I think we talked about Biden when he was in office. We were talking about him in the college, like, the college loans and paying back those college loans, right?
Hmm.
And he printed a ton of money. We talked about even during that time, the quarter of all the money that's ever been printed in the United States, he did it. That was a bad decision. So
Hmm.
we're being even here,
We
right?
got to be, and I think uh, clearly, like we have a Republican president, and this is what we're going to talk
Clearly.
about. We would do the same thing if Kamala was in, if
I
anybody else was
would.
in.
I would, because I'd probably be talking about how she's too soft and there's not enough rule in legislature to protect American citizens. And the problem is because nobody's in the middle, right? And there is no moderate. There's not, and that's actually where the majority of Americans are at, is more closer to the middle of the road. And these decisions that we see that are going against Venezuela, it's very dangerous. It's a very dangerous game because of who's backing Venezuela, right? And you start to upset world powers, which maybe that's the goal. Some people want war.
Mm, 100%. And Venezuela's GDP has been in shambles for a while. I'm looking up real quick. I know the past couple years it's dipped 30%, but specifically between the year 2013 and the year 2020, their GDP has dropped by 80%.
Why is that though? How do you destabilize people? How do you ruin an empire? How do you ruin a country? You don't accept trade. You don't accept visas, right? You devalue their visa. You devalue their products that they're exporting, and they have
Sanctions,
300, huh?
sanctions.
Sanctions, 300 billion barrels of oil, and they're broke. How's that work? That's what I'm saying. These are just not the stuff that's going on. It's not logical,
Mhm.
and it isn't right that you just go and ransack somebody's their economy. And I mean, you can call it what you want. It's that, I don't know. To me, that just seems like bullying. But
Yeah, and it's interesting because a lot of these news outlets, as I'm preparing for this episode, they are all taking the approach that this is a drug war. Not one of them said anything about the three-letter word oil. Nobody.
how is it a drug war when there's barely any drugs that go through Venezuela? It's not even the root. Like you'd be better off saying Haiti or Dominican Republic. Like that would make more sense. Like what? Like it's not a factual statement, but it's like you could just say whatever you want, and then people just take it and run with it and do no investigation of their own. So, I mean,
Speaking
okay.
about running with it, um, while the United States has laid down multiple sanctions on Venezuela, China has moved in. And over the past decade, Beijing has loaned Venezuela more than $60 billion
Good.
in exchange for long-term oil supply deals, right?
Good.
And so now China receives roughly about 90% of Venezuelan oil exports.
And I'm
And
not and I'm not saying good. People are like, "Oh, well, you're anti-American." No, I'm just saying like this is guys, this is the world. America's not the only country in the world. Like it's not. There's other people, there's other deals, there's other empires, right? Empires rise and fall. America was actually one of the shortest empires ever. It was 167 years of dominance. Like and maybe a lot of that is our entitlement, our belief that we're better than other countries and that people wouldn't catch up. And then here we have it, China has been planning their rise since the beginning of the 1900s, and now you see them flourishing. And so, listen, what America needs to do is we need to get a little bit more strategic. We need to stop being so tactical. We need to be honest about the stuff we're doing. If you're trying to bomb Venezuela to get oil, just say it.
Just
Just say
say it.
we're
That,
trying to take their oil. We
bro.
don't want them to have any oil. We don't want them sending it to China. So we're gonna bomb them and we're gonna try to take over their oil. We that's what we want. We want their oil. We think we can increase our stockpiles by just bombing it and taking it from them, and that's what we're gonna do. I'll be honest, Americans aren't gonna they're not gonna go against you doing that. They'd probably agree with you. Yeah, do
Probably
it.
agree. Yeah.
So just be honest about what it is, but the rules of drugs and all that, that's horrible. It's not true. And I mean, it's obviously not true. All you had to do is read. You just looked it.
Yeah.
Did you look it up on Google? You just Googled
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
It's like just numbers that are just right. Like it's right there. You just have to look it up. Like it's
Yeah.
not, that's what I'm saying. What are we doing, man?
All
It's
this stuff
crazy.
you can look up. The 150 sanctions, you can look it up if you want to go through it, read it. And that's one thing that we encourage everybody to always do is do your due diligence.
Do your due diligence.
It doesn't take, matter of fact, you can use Chat GPT and be like, yo, tell me what's going on in
Yeah, look it
Venezuela.
up.
They go, "Doo-doo-doo," tell you
It'll give you
everything.
everything that you want. We had the episode talking about prompt engineering, bro. You can ask a simple question and chat would give you all of that. Like if you really want to know stuff, just research it.
Research it.
Don't look at Fox, don't look at CNN, don't all that stuff, man. Just go look it up. If you hear something and you're like, go look it up.
Hmm. Yeah. Crazy stuff. Um, Let me ask you this. What do you think with, and as we start to wrap up this conversation, with over 10 naval ships, 10,000 troops in the Caribbean, I mean, we're right there. What do you think is going to be the results of this? Like any, it seems like any wrong move, something could really be detrimental.
A conversation needs to be had between the superpowers, the people that back Venezuela. Venezuela obviously would sit at the table, and some wiser heads than just our president needs to sit down because we've seen what he does when he speaks with people that he's supposedly
Hmm.
negotiating with, right? The Ukraine president and all that.
China.
He insults people. So hopefully some smarter people come and calmer heads prevail, and we can sit down and have a conversation. Maybe Venezuela is put on a sanction or a probationary period where they prove that these boats aren't holding drugs or however, whatever. But if that's not had, then I can see this being because the Bay of Pigs, right,
Yeah.
with Cuba, that was World War basically. Because if that popped off, then the Russian, and so that's a threat here. Because it's not just Venezuela; it's who supports Venezuela, and they see it as an act of aggression.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be very careful. War is not the answer, right? That's the cliche, but war is not the
Not
answer.
the answer.
It's not cool. Like, have a conversation. But if it
Conversation.
doesn't happen, then I could see it lead into drastic, a drastic
100%.
situation.
100%. Isn't it crazy? Again, as we wrap this thing up, man, how much quality communication can go,
Yeah,
whether at the lowest level between you and your spouse to you in different countries. Most of the time, we just need to have a conversation about it.
that's it. Talk. Just talk.
With that being said, let us know, what do you think needs to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Let us know what you thought about this episode. Again, if you guys have not checked out our previous episodes and you are new to this platform, please stay tuned. One other thing, if you are in the country of Costa Rica this weekend, Latin Wealth will be there at the Blockchain Jungle Conference. We'd love to connect with you guys, have conversations, talk about AI, crypto, everything, tech. We'd love to see you guys there. Come say what's up. And with that being said, it's the Latin Wealth family. Catch you on the next one. Peace.
Peace, guys.